Good morning, I am Adam Harris, and this is The Day Ahead.
Go ahead and click subscribe below to receive daily market analysis videos and important alerts. On the economic calendar for today, we have CPI data out of Canada at 1:30 p.m. Then we have mainly GBP strengthening this week in currencies, with Palladium being the biggest mover in the commodities. The global indices look to be finishing the week even stronger than last week, with the equities in focus taking a look at Netflix and its stellar performance. You could jump to any chapter by clicking on the time link in the description below. Having a look at currencies first, this is the US dollar index. It's just generally sitting between the 95 and 96 level, potentially going to encounter some resistance there. And of course, if we do produce a bearish candle here and start to head out, we really do need to get free of that 95 level. This is something I spoke about last week as well with euro dollar. Was quite thrilled to see it look as though it had very much broken free of that range, then came back and has now found itself back within the range of 1.14450 and 1.130, and we're still stuck within this range. So it's a little bit frustrating because we've been in here since late October, so very much wanting to see a difference and see price actually just work its way out of that. In the meantime though, sterling or cable against the US dollar, we're seeing that continuing to climb. That's now overdue for a bit of a retracement, but very nice to see that actually breaking through its local level of resistance. So the irony, of course, being that the euro dollar broke out first and then came back in, and sterling broke out afterwards, and that is continuing to go. So strengthening, looking pretty good. And actually, on that, actually what I quite like here as well is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Liking the look of this. There's now quite a deep retracement, a pullback on this first big move, and actually a break above this most recent swing high here would be a confirmation of a new uptrend, just supporting the idea of a potentially weaker US dollar. So if I was looking to take a trade here, I'd be putting my stop loss below this current candle, this swing low, and looking for an entry above the break of that high, which would be a confirmation of the new uptrend if price then does break through that. Now looking at the yen charts, all of the JPY charts pretty much going sideways or heading up, so I'm going to exit any of those positions. Excuse me, here looking very much as though it wants to continue upwards. It's still stuck within, hasn't broken the previous high, but not really looking that appealing. So I'm going to remove these from my watch list. Swiss yen the same. Just really looking more bullish than bearish at the moment, just not continuing down enough. So going to look at walking away from those just for now, taking them off the watch list. Euro Kiwi back still at this level of support and resistance, so I'm looking to see a potential reversal here. Today we currently have a bearish indecision candle printing, and a break below that would be my swing low and confirmation of rejection of that level. So this being a potential setup for later today as well. In the commodities on the move, and you can just hear gold continuing to test this level. It's still producing higher lows on that weekly, on the weekly structure here, and effectively very keen to break out. But what I'm really looking for, and this is overdue with gold, and never say never, because of course it could continue up before it does reverse, but this is really the behavior I'm looking for. This is silver starting its swing high. What I'm looking for ideally here is to see this pull back into this area. So the top of this box being the 382 retracement, and the bottom of this being the 618. This area, as well as the moving averages, as well as this previous level of resistance. This is a really good area for me to be looking for a swing long entry into this trend once it resumes. Palladium continuing to climb. Of course. This is now well overextended, very big candles. This is now reaching sort of that bubble or parabolic stage. This is going to almost certainly retrace in the near future. This is a daily time frame, so my expectation is next week makes the most sense to see this retrace, and then I'll be looking for entries. I'd like the entry of this being back down here at the level of support, but I'll also be looking into the areas around 1300 potentially as a first pullback, so most likely to get a deeper pullback further down the line. Looking then again at both of, or certainly at the two of the oils that I've got on my watch list here, their weekly candles are still looking nice and bullish. They're still within the sell zone. They haven't really moved much. So they're just overall, aside from Palladium, there hasn't been a lot of movement on these commodities. So this particular section this week has been more about just updating the status of them. We've also got crude oil here as well, also back within that. And a sell zone, a bearish candle here on the weekly would be really nice. But seeing as we've got to see that happen tonight by the close of tonight's market, well, then we'll just have to see how that ultimately turns out. But at the moment, not looking likely to happen, at least this week. But this could be a potential swing high next week. With the global indices, we're continuing to get that very strong bullish uptrend here. It's very steady actually on the daily time frame as well. Looks the same on the Nasdaq, on the S&P 500 as well, just so we can get a perspective here on the weekly chart, solidly pushing through that level of resistance. Overall producing, I'd still like to see us go a little bit higher and break these previous highs, but so far this producing an incredibly bullish candle for January. It's almost as though the Santa Claus rally has come a little bit late this year. So here as well, just showing you how stable that daily uptrend is and the behavior of very calm, normal sized candles as well. So all of this looking incredibly stable considering the jitteriness that we've experienced throughout 2018. And then comparing it here to the UK 100, which is producing that bearish candle, and I'll still be keeping an eye on the break of the low of that on Monday. However, I'd like to see how this candle closes today. If it closes bullishly and above that level, that does potentially change the game, at least certainly waiting for that to be a swing high. It's the same again actually with the DAX or the Germany 30. That's also still looking bullish. It's still in that sell zone, but compared to a lot of the others, it may just well be lagging a little bit. It's Hong Kong and Australia that look fantastic. Hong Kong now, the Hang Seng actually breaking through that level of that region, that zone of resistance, and looking very bullish. Break of this high would now have this in an uptrend, and with that bullish divergence, it's looking very likely. And Australia, is just amazing to see that monthly candle, but if anything, this is indicating a bullish outlook for February and March. This producing strong swing low there and a very strong, very bullish candle on that monthly time frame at a previous level of resistance, now finding support. A break of the low that it's already a swing low, but this implying it's looking to take another run towards the highs in February. So there we go, bullish pretty much across the board there. And finally today, looking at selected equities in focus. Overall, same thing, very bullish across the board, pretty much all of them producing strong bullish weekly and monthly candles, and that all looking nice and healthy. Amazon, for example, producing quite a solid chunky candle there, and no doubt setting up for a follow through and a swing low in February. So this is quite big. We had a similar thing in November. And of course, then we just gave it all back in December, so we didn't get that Santa rally that we were expecting. And that was quite unusual because a lot of the markets are looking quite bullish. But looking at the fact that they've now stepped back in the following month and are pushing back up, it's just supporting the idea there are plenty of bulls in the market. And actually, they look as though they're coming back stronger than they even did in November. And so this implying a probability of heading up. Certainly, and that looking quite bullish, and I would expect the markets to attempt to push back to their highs over Q1 and Q2. Now, the one that I'd like to draw your attention to today, certainly one I'll be looking at as well, is Netflix. Netflix has been it's just been booming over the last couple of weeks. Any pullbacks towards the moving averages are entry opportunities for me. I think swing trading entries to go long. This one is looking really nice and sturdy, taking actually most of its history into account, certainly for the last 1 or 2 quarters, and it's got an all-time high there that we're looking at 420. But any nice pullbacks, they'll be relatively shallow. I'll be looking for any pullbacks towards the moving averages as swing entries to go long. I'm really liking the look of it, and expecting some earnings released later today as well, expecting this to finish very strong. So I've added this to the list now, as in some good stalking opportunities there. So on that note, ladies and gents, I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. If it's trending, I'll be there.
Just a reminder to hit the subscribe button. If you want to stay abreast of what's happening in the market, I'll be producing and bringing you the latest in the markets every morning in a freshly produced video.